to watch for the moves. They're not hard to find. Strong arm tactics so loud, only themselves in mind. Every player has dreams of making Orca fame. They'll live on in the minds of those who get in their way. Orcas all say, don't come for me. Mid-third boots, they're so vain. As we set up the podcast webcam, the pod is here to talk Orca game. Orca King CK with delusions of fame. In this LRG world, he's the apex predator. Danny and Jules in tow, always ready to go. Now it's time for the show. They're the apex predators.
Hello and welcome to the Orca Pod, the Apex Predators of Australian Survivor LRG podcasting. Here we are for the penultimate episode of Sydney Survivor 2. What an amazing season it has been. I'm not going to eulogize it yet. That's all for next week. We have one episode pre-finale to get into, and I think there's a lot of great content to talk about. A lot of the moves, a lot of attempted moves, an advantage, underpowered, overpowered. There's strategies around just like berating people and strong arming them, which we love. We love a strong arm. There's also champion feminism as, I don't think a strategy, but just as a moral ethic of what you believe in these games. Because I think Beck's pretty formidable. So, there's all these things to talk about. A couple of housekeeping items. We've got a very exciting 2 weeks for the Orca Pod coming up. Not only do we have this episode tonight, then on Wednesday, we will bring another Orca into the pod. The Congress of the Orcas has assembled like it has never assembled before to determine the Orca for Canberra Survivor Season 4. We will be coming that live, welcoming a new whale to our pod and joining this esteemed Congress. Next Monday, we will cover the finale of Sydney Survivor. And then on Saturday, for everyone that's in Melbourne, this is on the 1st of August, we have the live Orca drinks courtesy of yours truly. And then we will roll into our end of Sydney coverage. We'll have deep dives with the final five. We'll have the tea party with Josh. It's long now. And we will have another Orca from this season joining the Congress. 2 Orcas in a couple of weeks. It's an incredible time to be an Orca, to be part of the LRG community, to be a lover of Survivor. It's just one Orca joining me today, but it's the only Orca that counts. Let me bring her in so we can discuss all of the moves and action from this episode. Welcome, Loz.
The only Orca that counts.
You are the only Orca that counts. Because as Tyrone has made clear, gender equality is crucial in final 2 arrangements. And if we're the final 2, you're the one I want standing with me.
No, you don't. No, I don't care how much you believe in gender equality. You don't want me sitting next to you at a final 2.
Well, let's go straight there. Does Tyrone want Beck there? Okay, let's get into this. Do we think that Beck would beat Tyrone at a final 2 or 3? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes. Does Tyrone know this?
Yes.
So is he potentially throwing his game away, or is he more so, I want Beck there at the final 4, so I'm more appetizing to be brought to the final 3?
I think he's hedging his bets. I think Tyrone is hedging his bets. Becky, out of the way. He was undecided which way he was going to go. He was on the fence. And the Beck option with Chris, Beck is the key to the Beck, Chris, Oscar connection. So he was keeping
Tyrone
Beck.
Sorry, I know you can't see the comments. Tyrone says, nah, he's throwing his game away.
Well, I mean, he got no votes. So, I mean, he survived that vote pretty, he came through it. And as a risk, there's always a risk if you're going to be that potential flipper that everyone will just flip on you. So I think it could have gone a whole lot worse for Tyrone, that vote, than it actually did. But look, I mean, do I think that Tyrone believes in gender equality? Absolutely. Yes, of course I do. Do I think that he'd give his game away for Beck? No.
Look, I have a counter argument to this. Firstly, while we're on Tyrone, and I think we'll go through all 6 in a fair. Well, this is what I'm about to tell the story about Tyrone. You're jumping ahead. He said, "Come on, it's pretty on brand for me to throw my game away for strong women."
I don't know. See, I'll tell another story about that.
Okay, we can both tell Tyrone stories in a moment, but my own first time around story is I felt like this edit was purposely designed to stress me the fuck out. Once upon a time, I used to pretend that I didn't want the drinks to happen. I didn't want to have to pony up $1,000, right? Like, oh, I've got to pay the money.
Oh,
I
no,
want the event. I want the event
really,
to happen.
though. You love it. You love
Yeah, I
it.
know.
And you'd be devastated if our orca pick didn't make it through to the whatever our final 5 or whatever we pick. You'd be so upset. We'd all be upset.
And this episode had me on the edge of my seat because for a while there, I felt Tyrone's double handling, double playing both sides was going to blow up in his face.
He's so lucky it didn't. He is so lucky. Truly, because we have seen it happen numerous times where that person sits in the middle thinking that they're holding the power, doesn't want to make a decision, hedging their bets. It is just so easy that the enemy of my enemy flips around and let's just clear them out. Let's get rid of them and we'll take that wild card out of the play. And that's one of my favorite moves. I love taking wild cards out. If you don't want to commit to me and I don't know what you're going to do, I'll go to the other side and go, hey, why don't we just make it easy on everyone? Pull the Amazon move and get rid of Christy.
It is the Christy move. Great comparison. It especially became the case when Beck was immune and Chris had a known advantage, and therefore it became even more problematic as to who to target. And the hilarious thing is the only person who actually raised that they should just vote out Tyrone was Oscar.
Oscar.
No. Oscar had the right play here because then they still have the numbers on Shane and Mac as the 3. Tyrone's not getting advantages played on him. Maybe Shane and Mac have fakes. Maybe they have rocks. Maybe they don't. But Tyrone has nothing. Oscar was
but no one listens to Oscar. And that's what you get for being a non-entity for the whole game, is that when you finally do say something that's meaningful and a genuine, decent play, everyone just kind of goes, meh, Oscar, you don't know what you're talking about, which is what happened. And everyone ignored him. And he very, very nearly walked out the door again because of his indecision as well. I think probably my favorite thing about this episode, again, that it ties back into what I said before the season even started. It's the introverts' inability to commit to a course of action. They don't know which way they want to go. They don't want to upset this side or this side. They don't know which their best option is. They kind of want someone else to make the decision, but we're at the point in the game when no one else can make that decision for you. You can't just skate through. And their indecision is killing them in the game, really. That was such a close vote where Oscar could very nearly have gone. Tyrone could very nearly have gone. Even Chris really could have gone a little bit, although at least he played a little bit more ballsy. So it's interesting. The extroverts commit, whether it takes them down or not. The introverts sit on the fence, and I think it'll be an introvert final, but not necessarily.
Don't jump ahead to what's going to be the future. That's the end of the episode. Let's keep them waiting. We started on Tyrone, and I want to go through everyone individually. We got Tyrone's stories to tell. We're on Tyrone now. My first encounter with Tyrone was with a 50-day video org. I don't know what it was called. It's one of those orgs, not the Pratty org, but one of them, similar thing.
Outcast.
And Outcast, yeah. And Annabelle was playing.
54
And Tyrone and Annabelle were both on this. Tyrone and Annabelle both lived in Melbourne, but they did not know each other before playing the org. They became Perjury. Thank you. I think Perjury came from Outcast. And they were playing this game together for 40 days or whatever. And they're at the final 7, final 6. And Tyrone, who Annabelle thought like was with her, but never really knew. He was hard to read, that sort of thing. Like he thought she was with, and then randomly Tyrone, just at the final 7, just gives Annabelle this idol he's got, and then gets himself voted out. And we're like, well, surely this is a fake. Like, why would he just give you an idol and then get himself voted out? But it was a real idol. Then Annabelle got voted out with 2 idols. But the 2 of them were then together at the finale party at Tyrone's house, and then became besties. And no, what am I wrong about this? What? No. She got voted out. Oh, okay. So she got voted out with the 2 idols, and then Tyrone was still in the game. Okay, sorry. But he gave her an idol for no reason, just because he loved it, just because he loves strong women. There was literally 0 reason for him to give her that idol, unless he wanted her to play it, and maybe she didn't listen. Anyway, he was staying with the strong women. He does believe in this cause. What's your Tyrone story to counter my Tyrone story about strong women?
I was playing another org with Tyrone, a shorter one. I think it was shorter. I think Deception Island was shorter. I don't know. I kind of chucked a TNT and quit after Tyrone backstabbed me because I was so heartbroken. And I truly thought he was my bestie. I thought I'd found my new bestie for life, and I was so committed to him. And then out of nowhere, he had like a massive freak out on me and then voted me out. And we took him out quicker. And then he dragged me off to purgatory or somewhere where we both, like, he was able to drag someone who didn't get voted out with him. So he took me. And then I was supposed to battle him in a tribal or a challenge or something to get back in. And I couldn't be bothered. Because
drag mechanics are like the worst mechanics in any LRG or org, just by the way.
It was awful. And I was so heartbroken.
It was called,
I didn't know what had happened.
It was called Drag Me to Hell was the twist.
Oh, was it? Yeah, well, that's where we went.
Well, so he's 50-50 on the strong women support, and now he's come into Sydney Survivor going, I'm going to redeem myself, get myself 2-1. I'm here for the women. And I think there was some legitimacy in this. When he was talking to Mac about it, and Mac's like, he's like, yeah, it's not a good look. And then Mac's like, hang on, are you serious about this? Like, is this like, yeah, so yeah, it's not a good look, but we're not doing that. But hang on, is this legit? And he's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. He's like, well, we can vote Chris then. Sure, like, whatever, it's Chris. Like, Mac fully was on board that Tyrone was telling the truth. And Mac correctly wanted to target Beck because she's the most threatening player in the game to him. But he was willing to move to Chris because Tyrone was being legitimate about it.
Well, I mean, we won't know, though, how legit it was because it never played out because Beck won immunity. So it was off the table. It never mattered. So how committed Tyrone was, maybe we'll see it next episode. Maybe not. I don't know. I'd love to think that he would be the champion to keep the girl in. But honestly, I don't think Beck even needs his help. I think Beck can do it by herself. I think Beck's game and her relationships will carry her through. I don't think she needs anybody vouching for the girl power thing.
I wonder if it was a 3-3 and they were able to vote for Beck, if Tyrone, well, presumably he would flip and say Beck, but that assumes he votes for Beck in the first place. But, Beck's strategically the worst person to leave in the game. Like, I feel like Shane and Mac would have wanted to come hard for her if she didn't win that immunity.
Yes, I agree, but they needed numbers. Yeah. And if they didn't think they had them, they would have flipped to Chris or to Oscar. They would have gone with whatever name was going to get the leverage. Becky, I think without a doubt, Becky is the biggest threat left in the game, but I don't think Chris or Oscar see it that way. And the fact that Tyrone wants to keep her around, or whether he does or he doesn't, but he certainly said that he did. She's got 3 guys on her side wanting to keep her through to the end. And it's not because she's a woman, it's because she's built such solid, clever relationships that people want to keep her around. And they're not seeing how much of a threat she is. And if they are, they're still willing to keep her around. That's awesome gameplay.
Aren't they thinking though that Beck, like, let's be real. Let's talk a little bit in this context about Chris and about Oscar. Maybe Chris more so. Chris is a student of the game. He has an awareness of the game. He's been somewhat unfairly tainted in the perception of him. Mac in particular notes that Chris was deemed a goat in the touchy subjects. Mac doesn't think that's fair assessment, but that's what the majority think. With that in mind and set, I don't think at this final six, unless it's a final two, Chris really has a chance against any of these people. So I guess he might as well just go with Beck, right? Like he's not going to be anyone
Agreed.
if that's the perception.
Agreed.
Yeah,
but I don't know that he sees it that way. And I think Chris has a resume, but I think he thinks it's a great resume in terms of the game, but I don't think it stands up remotely compared to Beck. And perception is reality. And the fact is that whether it was fair or unfair, he was voted in touchy subjects as the GOAT. And that's unfortunately what he's up against. Do I think he was the GOAT of the game? No, I don't think he is. But clearly enough people do.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people are on the jury now. And maybe he just brushes it off and says, well, you don't know the game I'm playing. I'm going to show you all at the end. And maybe he can, but I don't know what resume he can possibly bring up that can be comparable to Beck. I mean, Shane's gone, but I think Mac could out-talk Chris in a heartbeat should he make it to the end by some, miracle that he wins every challenge from now on. And, I think Tyrone's game is also going to be very competitive against Chris. I think Tyrone's made bigger moves. So maybe it is a bit of a perception thing. Maybe Chris just doesn't perceive how he's seen. Absolutely.
He might now with the touchy subjects. I think Chris maybe stands a chance against Tyrone. I think he's been Chris has been more stable. If he can legitimize his moves, if Tilly backs him up, some of the introverts on the jury may not be pleased with the way Tyrone has flipped and flopped. It depends on what sort of gameplay you value more. And I think Chris maybe can get a win there. Obviously, I'm assuming Oscar's just in the end because the Oscar's 1,000% going to be there.
Absolutely.
But I think against Beck, he has no chance, if I'm being frank.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I just think stability in the game is not, it's a great strategy to get you to the end, but it's not a great strategy to win anymore. People don't want to hear that you stuck to your alliance and were loyal the whole way through. I don't think that Chris necessarily sees his game as being a stable, loyal game. I think he thinks he's played quite an aggressive and strong game, but I'm not sure he can articulate that and back it up with examples.
I think he could come up with examples. I don't know if he'll be convincing in his examples. I think Chris's just default personality, the introvert in him, is to be humble, is to be not big note himself. And he's really going to have to come out and big note himself to overcome the perception. Now, he could do it in a humble way, but I think just from the confessionals, sometimes it feels that maybe he gets a little bit nervous. He thinks quickly, but and then speaks quickly, and then it's not absolutely clear if they're coming from a base of not seeing that point of view. If they already saw his point of view, and this is why I think Tilly is really, really important. If Tilly is supporting Chris already in the jury and talking him up and talking about things that he did with her hand in hand, then he will come in with a baseline that he can build upon. If she's not doing that, I think he's in a lot of trouble. But there's no reason she shouldn't be doing that. They were aligned together. They were aligned the whole game. They did work on these plans hand in hand, and he didn't vote her out. He didn't betray her.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big risk, though. And I don't think the moves that they made together were that dramatic. I don't think that they made game-changing moves. I think they were, a lot of the time, they've been fairly predictable moves. And there's been people who have endured in situations that look like absolutely no win, that no one could survive. And Beck, I think, is one of them. And Matt's another one. And, even Tyrone has, been in tricky situations where he got the negative votes or whatever it was and nearly went. I just think that juries respect those more dramatic, more game-changing kind of moves rather than, I do agree that Tilly and Chris had a great solid alliance and it served them well, but what did it actually do to move the game forward beyond just keeping them safe?
It did. It kept them safe, and it's safe gameplay, and it's just not very exciting, particularly to an LRG focused jury. I want to turn a little bit to. I want to turn to Oscar, but I think we've got to do Mac first because a lot of the story between Oscar and Mac was one thing. Mac, I love you, Mac, and I love the behavior here. But Mac was contradicting himself constantly, where he would say to Oscar, I'm bringing you to the end because you're going to lose. And Oscar's like, why are you taking me? Because you're going to lose. I can beat you. And then Mac would say, anyone will take you. You've got no chance. So you better flip with me so you can be in my alliance. And I'm like, what? It doesn't matter if he's with you, Mac. He's going to go there anyway. Like, why does he need to flip into your alliance to lose the game to you? I think you'd rather lose to Chris and Beck.
It's like going into a shop and they're selling something for $1.99 and then walking outside and there's some like random guy selling it on the side of the road for $2 and them trying to convince you that it's a great deal and you should buy it from them. That's how I looked at it. I'm like, I think total props for effort and just for standard orca behavior and the strong arming. But Mac and Shane were at the bottom of the totem pole and have been for a really long time. They've had nothing to offer. And somehow they always pull something out of their asses to offer. But we've been running out of really decent offers for a while. And this was as bad as it got. And I can't believe, like, Oscar, Mac just kept dragging him aside to like strong arm him again and sell him the same story. And Oscar, even Oscar, whose gameplay has not been, astounding, is looking and going, I don't feel like this is going to help me.
Mac has a long essay here that I appreciate you can't read, Loz, but the gist was he's saying, no, Shane and I can guarantee you because we believe you, but we will beat you. If Chris and Beck didn't have the same thought they could beat him, maybe they wouldn't take him. But of course they have the same thought.
Of course they have. Why would they not?
And Max says, I think we've decided you were selling a Delulu set.
Yeah.
It's the logic.
Everyone is going to take Oscar. Except that the others aren't going to make him feel like the only reason he's going to the end is because he's beatable. The others are making him feel like they want to take him to the end because of loyalty and their alliance. You can't compete against that by going, well, bro, I can beat you, so why wouldn't I take you?
Oscar has, in my view, one chance to win, one opportunity, right? He needs to go to the end with Chris and Tyrone. And then he needs to make a speech about how these games are stupid and people that fly from other states to play them are even more stupid. And he made it his goal to vote them all out. Except he leaves Tyrone there. So like that's a bit tricky. But he made that his goal. And he didn't get to go to a lot of tribal councils pre-merge. So his plan got a bit stymied in that way. But then when he got to the merge, out goes Isabel. Out goes Tim. Out goes Shane. Out go all these idiots that flew from another state to play this game, this dumb game. And I was here for a good time and I achieved my goal and you should give me the win. Like that is literally the only Hail Mary that he'd ever shot at.
Which, you know what? I'd probably he'd probably swing me because look who I picked first in the draft.
You picked him, didn't you?
It was Oscar. And it was because of that arrogance of, I just think these games are fucking stupid and you're all dumb. And I hope that you all, all you big fans, I can make your lives miserable in the game. If he got to the end and pulled that card out, yeah, he may very well convince me, especially if I was bitter about any of the others he was sitting next to.
He's like, you ran around scheming and stressing and freaking out about all. I just chilled. I just hung out.
I just hung out for 2 days.
You came and fucking told me that I'm a goat. I'm like, cool. Unflappable I was. Because all I cared about was voting out the interstaters and taking up one of your nerd spots on this final travel jury or whatever it's called, and sucks to be you.
Here I am, suckers.
That's like his one chance.
I mean, he may end up the orca of the season, and it might just be because of his final tribal council speech.
But this is the fever dream that I'm postulating. It's not going to happen because I think there might he's there at the end and he might have this little thought about it. But I actually think deep down he's a nicer guy than what he wanted to pretend he was when he was in the confessionals. When he started doing the confessionals, it was very big and brash and I'm here, whatever. And that's before the people became people. And then once he got into the game, they became more people and he lost a bit of that. And I don't think he could be as mean anymore because I think he cares about the people. He's a nice guy. So I don't think there's a chance of him doing that, but it would have been amazing.
Look, he was my first draft pick. He couldn't have been further from who I would normally have picked. I'm still loving his original intro video. That he turned out to be this lovely, loyal, guy who stuck by his alliance and never really pissed anybody off. Am I disappointed? Yeah. You did. You let me down, Oscar. You did.
Is this just not Ed 2.0, but not as buff?
No, because Ed was always like, no one ever believed that Ed was going to be a dick. Ed was the sweetest thing ever, even in his intro video. Remember how fast he could run?
He was loyal, and he was learning the game. He was learning the game as he went.
He wasn't loyal. He turned on me in a heartbeat. I'll have you remember. And he never looked back. He never even felt bad about it.
Yeah, well, he learned the game.
Ed turned out to be a way bigger badass than we ever thought that he was capable of. Whereas Oscar turned out to be a way bigger, nice guy than we ever expected.
This is true. I want to turn to Mac. That more shenanigans by Mac. Just a rock in the pocket, just pretending that's an idol. Going up. He promised on his life at the start of this episode that he would not vote for Oscar. He's like, I would promise on my life I will not vote for you because why would I? I'm dragging you to the end. And then he voted for him. What the fuck's that?
Well,
on his life.
Something about Chris had just mentioned, and maybe they did think that the others were going to flip on Oscar as well, just because he was wishy-washy. I thought that was a little bit silly. I think they should have stuck to the plan.
Which plan?
I think they should have just voted for Chris. The three boys on that end: Tyrone, Shane, Mac. Vote for Chris. They knew his advantage was not. There was no power in it.
It could have been an extra vote. They knew it was paper.
Yeah, I don't think that they would. They were willing to go to rocks. You take the chance. I don't know why flipping to Oscar made any sense. And this is the problem with these live tribals that they let go on and on and on and on and on, is that you end up with chaotic last minute decisions that don't make any sense and then, are actually more disappointing than what you would have gotten if they'd voted 10 minutes earlier.
The chat wants to talk a bit about the banker vote. So let's start talking about the banker vote. I had zero intention. Danny hates it. Chris says that he got scared of Chris's idol, despite the fact Tyrone got scared of Chris's idol, despite the fact that he knew it was a banker vote, which Tyrone did know because Chris told him. This advantage is both incredibly underpowered and overpowered at the same time. It's incredibly situational, especially at the final 6. I sort of don't hate it, but maybe it's because it was a nothing burger. And if it was something critical, maybe I would hate it. What do you think?
I didn't understand what it was because I don't understand any of these advantages.
Okay, so Chris would have not had to not vote at this vote, right?
And then get 2 votes next time
at the final 5, yeah.
You know how I feel about advantages any time in the game. I think this is terrible, horrible to put them in at final 6. I can't understand why you would do that. These people have worked so hard to get there, and you're going to basically hold their game to ransom on some random advantage. all the work that they put in, why does it have to come down to advantages?
Because sometimes it makes the show more interesting. That's the reason, Loz. Sometimes it can shake shit up.
You know what? For like 20 seasons, it was really interesting without needing an advantage. Maybe there's nothing wrong with the show. Maybe we're just making it boring because we expect an advantage and a twist every single episode. I just don't think it adds anything.
I feel like this season has possibly had too many advantages if I look across the board. Like the amount of shit that Shane and Mac have played is a little bit crazy. Across the board, there may have been too many. This one, I don't mind advantages at this point. Advantages stop pagongings, according to Mac.
No, random tribe swaps that are completely uneven where one tribe decimates another in challenges stop pagongings. And then random swaps back again when it suits.
I like the way, I sort of didn't like, and then I'm going to give Chris the benefit of the doubt and say I did like the way he played obtaining this advantage. So he found the clue in the bird cage, which he'd been checking repeatedly. Apparently it's the only place he bothered to check. And then got the advantage, saw that it was at the challenge, was able to acquire it at the challenge, and realized this sucks. So when you have a public advantage that's not very good, it's a bit of a bad situation because now you've got everyone worried about what you have, and now you become a target. So he obviously tells his core people, which is everyone but Mac and Shane in the presumption here, about what it is. But I thought the one thing that maybe was a bit far, like he should have said, this is it, it's shit, I'm not doing anything with it. Because he actually like tried to sell to the three of them, even for the briefest of moments, that, well, if I don't vote, we all need to vote together, like the four of us, right? Because then if I don't vote, I've got an extra vote at the next one. And like if I'm Tyrone, Beck, or even Oscar, I'll be like, fuck that. I don't want you to have 2 votes at the final 5. Like that's way too much fucking power.
No, it's terrible. It's just, it's a terrible advantage. The timing's terrible. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just have a hard time with the advantages, especially this late in the game, because I think at this point in the game, it should matter about your social game and those relationships. And, you know, if that advantage hadn't existed, Tyrone wouldn't have gotten as freaked out. I think he would have stuck to the plan with Shane and Mac. They would have voted for Chris, Oscar, Beck, and Chris would have voted for probably Shane. Maybe we have a revote, maybe Oscar flips, maybe not. But to me, that would have been more interesting than being too scared. You know, Tyrone convincing the others to not put the vote on Chris. I just think I would have loved to have seen it playing out more organically. Whereas it was so influenced by an advantage that essentially the only purpose it served was to upset the existing strategy.
The devil, on the other hand, let's say Tyrone gets this advantage and is able to somehow keep it a secret, and then he gets to his voting thing, is like, fuck you, Mac and Shane, I'm taking the extra vote for the next one. Like that would actually be a funny little like end to the episode. You know what I mean? That'd be good TV.
No,
but it's about
I can't help the way I feel about it.
I understand. You're an old school survivor.
I'm old school survivor.
I'm a bit more embracing of the nonsense. I do like the plan though, that the three of them, Oscar's obviously plan is let's just load up on Tyrone, which was probably the best plan. But the alternate plan, which I think was a good plan, was to tell Tyrone they were doing a 2-2-2, which is what Tyrone actually proposed, whether it was true or not at the time, unsure. And then they said, great, and then immediately tried to pivot that into a 3-2-1, where Tyrone would have been voting incorrectly on Mac. I think that was a great strategy, you know, old school survivor number strategy from Beck, Shane, and Oscar. And, you know, Tyrone obviously didn't go with that plan, but I think that was the most sensible plan because it removed the ability of Tyrone to screw up a plan on his own way. Either he goes wrong and they get Shane out, or he's with them and the 2-2-2 is actually, and he's with them and nothing happens.
Yeah, it seemed unclear how much Tyrone actually was on board with that, because when we were at Tribal Council and Tyrone said, "Oh, you never even gave me a name," and Chris said, "Yeah, we did. We talked about it." And then they had that little powwow about it. So I think maybe it came across clearer from Beck and Chris that. Yeah, okay. All right, so you just didn't get it. Okay, Tyrone, you're dumb.
I think he's saying that he screwed. No, I think that he's talking about the comment before he made about where it would have been good, like what I was postulating about him, like getting the advantage and screwing over everyone. And he's like, I can screw with an advantage. I guess he's talking about the flip here, and we should obviously get into the flip. Do we think the flip is the right move for Tyrone on this repo?
Not really. Not really.
Okay, I have a counterpoint. Can you tell me why it was a bad move?
Look, I think it with Chris, Beck, and Oscar, he is the bottom of the four. I think he is. If they can take Shane and then Mac out, I think they'll take Tyrone out. I don't think any of them truly see Tyrone in their final three. Whereas I do think that there was a very strong likelihood that he could have ended up in a final three with Mac and Shane, depending on what happened. I think that was at least he was 3 of 3. He's now the 4th of 4, which is a worse place to be.
Okay. But he could also go out and rock and not make the finale.
Would it have gone to Rocks, though? I mean, we don't know. Would Oscar have flipped? We don't know.
No. What do you mean? There has to be unanimous after that.
If it was a tie...
Yeah, it goes to be unanimous.
And it was 3-3, and then they voted again.
And they say Tyrone stays with the extroverts, and it's 2-2, and now it's Rocks, or they've got to mutually agree on Oscar or Shane. Mac's never going to agree.
Maybe they do. Maybe Oscar comes over and goes, "Here's all the reasons." No, I don't know. I don't know that flipping back and forth like that wins you any appreciation from the jury, and all it does, I mean, all it's done now is put Tyrone at the bottom of 4, where he didn't stay loyal to them. It was a last minute, Hail Mary to, I guess, secure himself, seeing the writing on the wall. And how well does that serve him moving forward, really? For me, I'd love to have seen it go to Rocks. I would never go to Rocks. I can't imagine a point where I would, but I would love to have seen it.
The only way it doesn't go to Rocks is, I believe, is if Chris is unwilling to turn. Chris and Beck are unwilling to turn on Oscar, because Mac is never going to unanimously agree for Shane to go. So it would have to be unanimous on Oscar, and Beck doesn't give a shit because she's not drawing a rock. So it comes down to Chris deciding whether he wants to put himself in a 1-in-4 to save Oscar, or he's better off going back to the drawing board with 2 big targets like Shane and Mac still in the game to be taken out at 5-4, which I think Chris strategically could make that call, because now Oscar is no longer taking up a spot at the final Tribal Council that everyone's planning on giving him. So it gives you more chance of making the final 3 as well. I could see Chris flipping on Oscar in that scenario. And then that's a move that Chris made as well in front of the jury.
Massive move. Potentially a move that, sold right at the end could be a game-winning move. I think Tyrone made a few errors in this episode. One was the flip to convince Shane and Mac to vote Oscar. I think that was a huge error. And then the flip back again. While I get that it avoided Rocks, I don't know that it progresses him any further in the game. I think he's gone at 4, and even more than that, if Mac wins the next challenge, Tyrone's out.
I think Tyrone is definitely out if Mac wins the next challenge. If Mac goes out 5th, I think there's a chance that Chris will take out Beck if she's not immune, because I think he has a real chance of winning the game without her there. I think he's got a fair shot against Tyrone. I think they've got a fair shot against each other.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I don't see Oscar getting on board with it to take Beck out.
Well, so he's going to send her to fire. Then there's fire at least.
Look, I'd be surprised if it came to, there were 4 of them and they decided to keep Tyrone over Beck. Because again, it comes down to that perception of, maybe they think Mac and Shane for sure are going to give Tyrone the votes if they get to a final 3. You start counting votes on the jury. Tyrone's obviously been fairly tight with a lot of the extroverts. Maybe they get the votes. Beck wouldn't. I still don't think he's in a stronger position.
The one person that we haven't talked too much in detail this evening, perhaps deliberately, perhaps this show has a structure. You wouldn't believe it, but it does. It's all in my head. The one person we haven't spoken about is, of course, the man we'll be chatting to shortly, Shane. I don't think there's anything more he could have done in this episode to survive. Like, I don't know if he did anything wrong. He bluffed another fake idol. It was the same half idol. Chris correctly Max saying he found out after the game that he didn't know what rocks was. I think he's referring to Oscar. Didn't know what rocks
That
which doesn't surprise me. Shane has played a stellar game the whole game, and I don't know if there's much he could have done this episode to not be the target. Chris, as I said, correctly identified that the idol that Shane was bluffing was the half idol from the beginning of the game that he took back from Joe after she was voted out, or at the Tribal Council where Joe was voted out. That was what he was bluffing with. And he was always, in my view, a better target than Mac. He's incredibly likable, and I think would be a huge threat on the jury. Mac and Shane are equally good at challenges. Shane may be better at some of these fiddly things. Just ask him; he would have won this challenge if it wasn't for the wind.
Vote for the wind.
There's always a reason why he didn't win it. Like, nothing to do with like his skill sets, but he is a skilled performer. So I do think that he was. I was saying this last week. He's the one they've got to take out. He's actually the biggest threat. Had a great story in the game. Fighting from the bottom most of the game, making moves, making social alliances, strategic alliances. Do you think there's much more that you could have done in this episode, bar winning immunity? I'm not sure if there was.
I think Shane's been on borrowed time for a long time. I think both he and Mac have survived much longer than a lot of us thought. And it's been through a lot, clever gameplay, and a lot of it has been through because of Shane's good social relationships that helped them to skate through another vote. I think this was out of his hands. The numbers have been against them for a really long time, and he's played a very, very good game, and everyone's seen it. They saw what happened as the extroverts got systematically obliterated in challenge after challenge, and yet they managed to survive. Shane had pre-existing relationships from there with Beck. That was always going to be a huge threat. Working against him, take him out so that there's no risk that Beck could flip back again. I'm devastated. I thought I was potentially going to have 3 draft picks in the final 5. Instead, I only have 2. But
who do you have? Who do I have? Who's in my book?
I had Shane, Oscar, and Beck.
Do I have Tyrone? I do. I think we and I have all the final 5.
Yeah. So I thought I was going to have 3 in the final
Chris?
5.
Do I have Chris? I think I have Chris too.
No, I think does Actually, I don't know who does have Chris.
I think I picked Chris like right near the end. And I sort of dragged him a bit when I picked him too. It was a bit like nasty.
Well, anyway, so I was devastated anyway, because I had Shane pretty much as one of my winner picks based on how I drafted him. I just felt like he played the game that I imagined he was going to play. I think his intro video really summed up who he is and the kind of gameplay we were going to see. And you know,
The
sometimes
concern.
when your cards like are up, you're up. Like there was just nothing else that could have been done. And Mac
So,
is just the more obnoxious one of the pair. And when you're the bigger threat and the numbers are against you, well, out you go.
Danny had the numbers up there for a second and they disappeared. But
Oh.
yeah, all 6 of these people are ours. You have Oscar, Shane, and Beck, and I have Mac, Tyrone, and Chris.
No. Well, there you
Yep.
go.
That's why Mark stopped. Well, I wonder why Mark wasn't responding to my text. He's just
Oh, so
devastated.
now I've got 2 and you've got 3.
Yes.
Ah, ah,
Hey.
I hate you.
If Shane was on the intro tribe, he would have
Yes,
won the
I
challenge.
agree. He would have run the
Yeah,
show
he
without a
would
doubt.
have run the show.
Yes.
So we've talked him up, and let's talk about some more. I think that Shane had such an incredible combination of strength, social, and strategic gameplay. Was good at finding the things, was good at the challenges, was great at making social connections across both sides. I think that even in a final 2 or a final 3 with Mac, I think Shane can win that. I think Mac would get Isabel's vote, and obviously, and maybe some others. But I think that Shane.
His only competition, in my opinion, at a final 3 was going to be Beck.
Yeah. Because
I would have loved to have seen that duel at the end because of how their stories kind of paralleled.
They came together and separated and came together
in and out, yeah,
separated.
and so many similarities. I would have loved to have seen it. I feel like they would have been 2 sides of the same coin. I'm bummed that we're not going to get that. But even so, I still don't think there was any chance Shane was going to make it to the final 3. I feel like there was nothing he could have done to get
I think Matt, and I think the thing about Mac is his game is fantastic. But it's big and it's brash, and people might have voted for him, would have voted for him. Some of them begrudgingly. If I was on that jury, I'd vote for him excitingly. Like, I'll go, this guy's the best. I'm voting for him. What a champ. But some people won't feel like that, and they'll go, that's not. He sort of he played a good game, but he was really in my fucking face about it. Maybe Oscar's saying this.
Well, it's a whole jury of introverts. That's the point. Is you're going to have
in our face
an extrovert like Mac in the final 3 trying to convince a whole jury of introverts to vote for him. It's just, I mean, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
And then the final tribal would be like Russell Hand style, where he's like, I'm so good. I did all these things. I kicked all these people's ass. I kicked all your asses. And then like they'll be like, yeah, you did, but we really don't want to vote for you.
We really hate you. So Natalie, here, have $1 million.
Yeah. So I think
exactly. Everyone would. I could see Mac getting Isabel's vote and Shane's vote, and the rest of the introverts basically going, fuck you. You're a dick the whole way through. We're voting against you for whoever else is in that final 3 just on principle.
That's my impression of Mac. That was my impression of Russell Hand. Maybe it's saying, I just come up with an insane idea for this advantage that you're going to hate, Loz, but just check this for a second. Check this shit. Because it's at final 6, it's got very little value. If you get it, right, you don't get an extra vote at final 5, or maybe you do get the extra vote, I don't care. But if you get voted out with it, you get an extra vote on the jury.
Oh, God, that's horrible. That's like the power to kick someone off a jury. I hate it. No.
I did that once in an org. I have to say, I did that once in an org.
No, and do not put that into a future season of Melbourne Survivor. I'm just saying right now, do not use that. That sucks.
I did the kick.
Do not fuck around with juries. Don't kick people off juries, vote them off juries. Don't give them extra votes on juries. Just let the juries be.
I've voted off people. I've betrayed people. I've blindsided people. I've done everything. The thing that I felt the most bad about ever in the org was moving someone from the jury. Like
it's awful. I just think that's
a kick in the balls.
It's awful. That is a horrible, horrible twist. I hate it.
Yeah. I won the game because I did it, but I felt bad about doing it. It was about the only thing.
So you should. That's not a real win. That's a fake win. You cheated.
All right, we've talked him up enough. He's a star. We love him. Let's throw up the graphic, killing the planet, one AI video at a time. It's this one. start the blowhole with this week's boot. The aforementioned most loved player of the game. If Sia was giving out money to LRGs, that'd give it giving out to him. Let's bring him in, the man, the myth, the legend, Shane. Welcome.
Hey guys, what an intro.
Well deserved. Now, you've lived a rich and varied and bright life full of many experiences. Is it those experiences and that life skills and knowledge that was enabled you to be so effective in this game of Survivor, or would you have been as effective when you were a 20-year-old man?
Good question. I think as a 20-year-old man, I would have been much better at the physical challenges, but definitely the age, the wisdom, the life experiences sort of played out in how I wanted to be and how I was playing the game in Sydney Survivor. So, yeah.
Would you say that your skills in handling explosives enabled you to be able to handle Mac for the entire game and his explosive behavior?
Yeah, look, that's definitely one of the assets that I had. I actually, right at the start of the game, I identified Mac as my immediate alpha male threat in my tribe. And, I was having conversations and feeding thought into people's heads, when's the right time to take out Mac? I really wanted him out at the start. And then the more I worked with him, the more I just became bonded with this guy. And he became a really great shield for me. So he could be brash and extroverted, and I could just sort of play down my extrovertedness and trying to be an extroverted introvert, if you like, and let him sort of take the punches, and I could just sort of feed in behind that, which was really great for my game, actually.
Tyrone wants to know, honest answer, would you have preferred to start on the introvert tribe?
Well, given that they won all the challenges early up, yeah. But
yeah,
I actually really enjoyed all the tribals that I went to. I think it was
play.
really building me up for, being ready for that final tribal and having a good pitch. So fighting from the bottom, I mean, in my race car career, that I've always, not been good off the start and always chased people down from the back of the field. So yeah, it's kind of what I'm used to.
Do you regret not using that analogy during one of the tribal councils?
I never really had an opportunity.
Coming from behind.
I really wanted to say that for tribal. I had like a magic thing that I was rehearsing in my head. Literally 90% of the time that I'm playing, I'm already thinking about my final pitch and sort of building up all the little keywords and phrases that I wanted to say. So I was super, super disappointed that I didn't get to tribal and have that final pitch. Yeah, I was really ready for it.
Were you really?
I look at your game, Shane. Sorry, CK. Can I have like 2 seconds to speak to Shane, please?
Sure.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. Seeing as Shane was, I think, my second draft pick. I look at your game, Shane, and apart from winning, which obviously is on all of our bucket lists, but you basically did everything else you could possibly dream of doing in a game of Survivor. And even the way you went out, you were almost not going out, but almost were, and it was a flip, and it's quite dramatic. Is there anything you feel like you didn't achieve apart from winning that you wish you had?
No, I really felt like I had the complete and full experience, I wanted to find an idol. I wanted to play an advantage. I wanted to have like spies in the other camp and have people that I could draw on. I wanted to play a really good social game. Given that I am a little bit older and the body's starting to slow down, and literally 2 weeks before I flew over to Sydney, I couldn't even walk. I'm going to chiropractors and physiotherapists because I had the worst sciatic nerve playing up in my back, and I was worried that I wasn't going to stand and be as physical as I really wanted to be. So, yeah, look, I really got a great experience. I got to meet Christy. I got to meet Steve. Steve helped me, find an idol and helped me at one of the challenges. And look, I just really walked away feeling disappointed that I didn't make tribal, but feeling really proud of the game I played and really grateful for the full and rich experience that I had in the game.
Steve did help you. He basically told you, I'm not going to tell you where the idol is. It's over here. It's right here. Look over here. It's here.
Mate, I'm glad they edited that right down, because he was giving me the worst instructions to find the idol at the start. He's saying, it's down here somewhere. Well, where he told me where to start looking was about 500 metres from where the bloody thing actually was. So I'm walking around in the bush like an idiot going in the wrong direction, and he's just not helping. And then in the end, he finally narrowed it right down and said, look, I'm going to lead you a little bit closer. Eventually.
Mac wants us to ask you how you feel about Tyrone ending your journey with his flip.
Look, just fuck you, Tyrone. Look, I had a really good bond with Tyrone, and I kind of knew, I mean, I would have loved to have sit next to Tyrone, Mac, and myself at final three. So the three of us, he wasn't on the bottom of our three, even though he saw it that way. I was ready to pitch against anybody, and I would have loved to have gone to Rocks. And I'm a really lucky guy. I've won a lot of things in my life, and I've had a lot of great luck with my health and things. And I reckon if we went to Rocks, the whole game was going to change. And I think it would have been really great for the episode as well. But I wish he had a stuck.
I wish it had him too. I'm so with you, Shane. It would have. I want to see how it was going to play out. Going to Rocks, It could have gone any way. And you're right. You were lucky.
Yeah.
You and Matt had phenomenal luck in the game. And I mean, if they had voted for you, you would have been safe. Mac has great luck. I could have.
That's right.
Could have ended up with Chris out, and suddenly.
I honestly, I really thought they were going to load up on Mac. I was quite surprised that they loaded up on me. I thought they would have seen Mac as a bigger threat than me at that stage in the game. But guaranteed I would have gone to Rocks for Mac to keep him in. I wanted him, we'd come so far with our journey. I wanted to see how far we could go with that relationship.
Without spoiling the finale, of course, depending is hypothetical, do you think that Chris would have flipped so as to take out Oscar? Like, obviously he didn't flip on the revote, but if it's a unanimous agreement, either Chris is drawing one of 4 rocks for Oscar, one of 3 rocks, for Oscar, or does he flip on Oscar? What do you think he does? Because he's still got the numbers conceivably.
Yeah, look, I don't think Chris was going to flip no matter what. He built a bit of a loyalty game up, and I don't think he would have done that. He would have stuck to the 3, but I don't think, I certainly know for, my gut feeling is that Oscar had no idea what the hell Rocks was and wouldn't have understood what the ramifications of going to Rocks was going to be. I think Beck had a fair idea of, hang on, I'm immune, but Rocks could change the dynamic here. And if it falls on the wrong side and if Chris goes, then that changes the whole end game for her. She was mad keen on taking those 2, hopefully, to the final 3, which we'll see how that pans out in the next episode, I'm sure. But it was, Chris was never going to flip on that, so we had to keep Tyrone strong. I think Tyrone was really nervous in the initial vote.
Tyrone wants to know if the vote was on Tyrone, would you, and Mac, but you can answer for yourself, would you have gone to Rocks for Tyrone, or would you have flipped on him?
Absolutely. I knew that once they broke the 3 of us up, our chances in the game diminished quite significantly. So we had to stay 3 strong there, and we had to take our chances by going to Rocks. I didn't think either Mac or I would have a great deal, unless we were going to win immunities, that we would go much further beyond the final 5.
Would have been a real risky rock, because you would have had a 2 in 3 chance of you or Mac going out in that scenario. Early on in the game, right at the start, you were originally aligned with Ian, and I think you probably felt a bit burned when you flipped on him. Was that, now we learned from Isabel that she caused that by basically lying to you about what Ian was up to. And look, we believe that's what happened. But were you fooled by that, by Isabel, or did you just think that it was time to move on from Ian at the time?
Look, I was kind of really fond of Ian at the start, and he was really loud and brash, and he was a really good shield. He was my initial shield at the start, and I developed a really good bond with him at the start. But Izza came up to me literally as we're about to go to tribal, and then we've told we can't speak again until we get to tribal, and basically said, "Watch Ian, he's coming for you. He's put your name out there," and that just flipped my mind straight away. I wasn't too concerned about losing Ian at that stage. I was more concerned, and I had a lot of discussions with Belle prior to that stage, and at one stage she was really trying to win me over by calling me her survivor dad and stuff like that. So I made it's probably one of the early mistakes that I made. I believed her that he was coming for me, and but then when I talked to Ian afterwards, he didn't have an alliance to anybody. Ian was for Ian, and he would have cut me as soon as he could as well. So kind of worked out good for my game in the end, that I was blindsided or led down the path by Belle. But yeah, she totally caused me to flip my vote in that. I was going another way.
And when did you start?
I think Ian would have been detrimental to people's games, especially if he had survived a swap. So at any stage, I think taking Ian out early was the only option you guys had. And so I think Isabel saw the writing on the wall, and I think it was a good call, and it probably helped your game, because he would have been where Mac was a great shield. I think Ian would have almost drawn negative attention to you, and that is not what you would have wanted in a swap with the introverts. So
yeah, no, I totally agree. So on hindsight, looking back at it, I think it was one of the best things for my game, actually taking out Ian at that stage. One, it gave me something on my resume early on as well, because everybody saw us as aligned, and taking him out was one of the big names. So to me, it was no skin off my nose. I realigned, built other relationships. I always knew I was going to be good at building relationships. I'm great at that in my personal life, so I tried to drag that into Survivor and use that to my advantage as well.
You also found a redonkulous amount of advantages throughout the game, including things that weren't advantages. You were just picking crap up off the set and claiming them as advantages. And you weren't sure
that's
they
a
were not.
production issue if you leave it lying around.
Were you really half a second from finding that thing, Chris? Oh yeah,
100%. They were doing their final wrap up after the challenge, and I looked and I saw this thing just taped to a stick right in front of us. It was literally 5 meters away, and I was literally about to make a run for it, and Chris has dived in right in front of me and grabbed it. But yeah, 100%. I was literally half a second behind him in going and grabbing that final advantage.
And how aggravated were you? Were you as aggravated as me when they told you that after all that work from Joe to come back in the fucking game, that this half idol you earned at the start of the game is just dead for some stupid reason?
I was fucking gutted, because trying to build that relationship with Joe right at the start was a really big part of having a spy in the other camp, and I was I really wanted Maddie to come back in the game, because Maddie and I were really close, and she and I were going to be a really solid alliance moving forward. But when Joe came back in, I thought, oh great, this fucking idol's back on again, and they didn't tell me that it was out, and I had to ask some questions of production sort of off the record and find out, and I was gutted. But then I thought, you know what, I've got, perception is everything in this game. Let's tell everybody it is live, and I've got it, and we're going to use it at some stage. So it ended up becoming quite a powerful tool. Nobody kind of really knew other than me and Joe. And unfortunately, Joe let it slip to a few people that it was out. I didn't want to let anybody know that it was out. I wanted everybody to think it was live. And I sort of played it up at one of the tribals, I'm giving it to her and then I'm taking it back off her, and I just wanted the people to have a a doubt in their mind about when it was going to be played and if it was live.
See, that's one advantage that I can actually get behind, because it's such a question mark. And had it retained its power, that's so powerful. That is a game-changing kind of advantage to have someone who's been voted out. People didn't know she had it. They didn't know that you guys were working together. I could totally have gotten behind that one still working. And we know how I feel about advantages. So that was probably the only advantage that I was bummed about.
Yeah.
Although you did make it work as best you could.
Yeah, but it would have been great had it been, still live, that final six and I played it. That just flips the whole thing. Bang.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was gutted.
That one's that's the like one of the that production decision just irks me a bit, because I just think like it just would have been better the other way. I don't like, particularly as like the only idol that was available at Exile was found by Morgan and couldn't be transferred, and it's like, you got to give these people who come back from Exile or something. So at least a half idol with you that she earned at the beginning of the game is
Yeah, and my whole thought process was, she's not fully out of the game yet, so she was never like totally out. So it should, in my opinion, it should have stayed live. So I was really gutted about that one for sure.
But I like the way that the two of you were able to use it in any event, create some concern, create some worry, and she may have told some people, but sometimes loose lips don't sink ships, because sometimes people are like, why is she telling me this? Why would she even tell me that it's not in the game? Maybe she's full of shit. Maybe it is in the game. Like, you've got a lot of paranoia going on. It makes no sense for her to be telling people this. Maybe it's a lie. Like, they're trying to fool us. So, you still got leverage out of it, and that's obviously the effectiveness of the play you were able to do. Look, do you have any final words? You've been absolutely outstanding on this season, a real star of the show, and I think you're one of these people that are naturally born to be good at Survivor, but to never win, because no one will let you get to it. That's you.
Well, thanks, guys. That means a lot coming from you in particular. So, look, I loved my time on the game. I'm so glad I had such a rich and diverse game. I'm glad people enjoyed my game as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the final episode, and I'm sure the rest of the viewers are, to see how it pans out. There's a 1 in 5 shot for somebody there, and it's going to be interesting to see that final tribal.
Thanks, Shane. Great to have you.
Loved you, Shane.
See you guys.
And now we get to the most important part of the episode, as I continue to murder the environment.
Brommy nom, who gets the Brommy nom?
Like, Mac, obviously, but I've been wanting to give Tyrone one for so fucking long, and like, he was a little bit. Tyrone, I'll just give it to you.
Well, actually, I have props for Tyrone, because we skipped my segment, and I have to minimize on my phone to check my notes. Okay.
Okay.
My episode title. You didn't give me my episode title segment.
Sorry, it's because I haven't made an AI video for it, which you specifically instructed me not to do.
Not to, yes. So both my alternative titles.
You're a black screen at the moment.
Sorry, I know, I've come back. I'm back.
Right.
So both my alternative titles were, no, actually one was Chris and one was Tyrone. So Chris's one was It's My Game to Lose, which I think there's a bit of a sense of that amongst everyone as you're getting to sort of final 6, final 5. So I kind of liked that one. It's My Game to Lose. But I think the episode title that should have been was Tyrone's, and he said, eventually is right now.
That's good.
So talking to Oscar, and Oscar's like, yeah, eventually. And Tyrone says, eventually is right now.
Tyrone was...
That should have been the episode title. There are props to Tyrone for that.
He does the flip. He plays the middle. He's strong-arming both sides. He's strong-arming Mac, trying to keep Beck in the game, just because she's a woman. He's strong-arming Beck saying,
It's not strong arming. Let's not exaggerate. There was no strong arming going on. It was subtle persuasion, charming subtle persuasion, which is not Orca.
I just want him to get one. Like Max got a bunch. I think the body of work is there. The body of work is there. Are you against the Tyrone, or you want to just I just have to give it to him in the next episode instead?
You have to work for it. You've got to be a bit of a dick.
I wanted him to have it.
A big part of the Brommy, a big part of being an Orca is that you have to be a bit of a dick. You can't be charming, and he wasn't. When was he?
No. Oh, the episode where he was crapping on Tim for not being able to swim.
Oh, that was one little comment. It's not enough. You want this prize, you got to work for it.
Right, well,
no, I can't. It just wouldn't be right.
Fine, I'm giving it to Mac this episode, but Tyrone, someone's going to have to do something pretty fucking magical for me not to give it to Tyrone next week, because Tyrone deserves at least one Brommy for his overall action.
You can be you can have Orca personality traits without ever actually being an Orca. We can't all be Orcas.
Sure, but I just feel that Tyrone deserves to be in the running, and he can't be in the running. I think he's got his Orca value.
I just haven't seen it. I was hoping I would see way more of it.
What about this? Our game was 3 years ago.
I think he was an Orca in our game. I would love to have seen that in this game.
I'm just saying.
He's too nice. You're too nice, Tyrone.
He's gonna get one next episode. Maybe he will make. Maybe he'll get voted out, like he keeps saying, and he'll be really bitchy on the jury, and I can give him for that.
Yeah, all right. That I can accept. If that's how it goes, then I'm on board.
But he did look. He deserves one. He deserves to be in the running. I know he's not probably going to win, but he deserves to be in the running. And he is the people's champion. He's bringing Orca drinks to Sydney. Very, very exciting at some future time to be announced. But what is going to happen in this final episode? I'll give you some scenarios, Loz, and you can just tell me, right? So Mac wins immunity at Final 5. What's happening?
Mac wins immunity. Tyrone gets taken out. And unless Mac wins the next challenge, then Mac goes, and we have a final 3 of Beck, Chris, and Oscar.
And who wins?
Beck.
Okay. What about if Mac doesn't win a final 5 immunity and there's no idols or whatever we assume?
Mac goes, followed by Tyrone, and a final 3 of Beck, Oscar, and Chris, and Beck wins.
You don't think there's a chance of Chris flipping on Beck at that final 4? I really think there's a strong chance of that. I really do.
Look, I based on everything we've seen from Chris up to this point, I just don't see it happening.
I think it'd be a win.
I think it's going to be too little, too late. Anyhow, it's that last minute move is it's like that last minute move, in Uncharted Waters, where Ash and Mars waited till the very last second to take each other out, and by then it was kind of too late, and there were already other people who were ready to take them out. You can't leave your big move, your winning move, until the 11th hour like that. I just don't think it has the impact.
Well, can I run a jury scenario for you?
Sure.
I get what you're saying in broad terms, but let's look at a jury. The jury is voting for the final 3 of Chris, Tyrone, and Oscar. Who's Isabel voting for? I don't know. Tyrone, maybe?
I mean, it's hard to know, isn't it?
Who's Tim voting
probably
for?
Tyrone.
Who's Tim voting for?
Oh, fuck knows. I don't know. None of them. I don't know. He didn't like any of them, did he?
So Tilly's voting for Chris. So maybe we've got a 1-1 here. Who's Shane voting for? Tyrone just turned on him. Probably Chris.
Oh, I don't know. No, see, I don't think you can assume that.
I'm just saying that it's a real crapshoot in a 50-50 between Chris and Tyrone, and Chris could actually win could win the game in that scenario. He just doesn't win against Beck. He's got no chance.
Does he know that though? Is he fully cognizant of the fact that taking Beck to the final 3 is going to be a fatal error for him?
I don't know. He's not your
Or
standard.
does he think that he is on a more level playing field with Beck? Because I think Chris thinks he is.
I don't know. He's not your standard overconfident man who thinks he's just going to win over a woman just because he's a man. I feel like Chris has some awareness that, Beck has played an incredible game and he is not maybe as valued. Okay, Danny thinks who was there approach him doesn't think he clocks her for the threat she is.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I think.
foolish.
Nothing I've seen from Chris in confessional says to me that he recognizes Beck as the potential winner of the game. And I think Chris sees his game as as a really strong game that can stand up at the end, and that he's got the capacity to sell it to a jury. But I'm not sure that he does have the ability to sell it confidently and convincingly enough that the jury will buy it. And I think that will potentially be the fatal error for Chris. I don't think that he will pick Beck as being as threatening as she is. We'll go to the end with her and she'll clean up.
I think he's also missing a real key piece of information, which is usually not a key piece of information, which is the pre-merge. Now, the pre-merge, as we all talk about the show, is generally irrelevant for how people decide the final tribal council. But I don't think Beck and Chris's games have been that distinct during the merge. But if you go pre-merge, you had Beck get swap screwed, fight, play an idol, all sorts of things that happen.
Beck's
Chris
resume, her
and voted people
ability
out.
to survive, and she's articulate and she speaks confidently, which is how she's managed to win people over again in the swaps. She's managed to keep her. Beck's whole game. That's why I wish we'd seen a Shane versus Beck, because to me the games, they had equal challenges, equal things working against them. They triumphed every time and they still managed to bring it back into their favor. And Chris doesn't have that. Chris was on the tribe that won. And won. And
the two votes he went to, first time he voted incorrectly, apparently.
They were both wrong.
No, he actually apparently was supposed to vote for the other person and got the
name he got it wrong. Yep.
And he wanted to keep Maddie, but was overruled by Oscar and Tilly.
Exactly. So I know he thinks his resume is strong, but compared to Beck, I just don't think it is. And I think he believes in his ability to sell it, but I don't know I don't think he can. If he sticks with her, I think he will, it's game over and Beck wins the game.
I think she gets maybe all the votes. Maybe Tilly votes maybe she votes for Chris, but I also feel like Tilly went out of the game regretting the way women went down this game.
Absolutely. And I think Tilly is going to be a girl who respects strong women's gameplay as well. And, I think Chris was a useful alliance for her, but I don't know that it was we never heard them talking about ride or dies or,
No, we heard that from Chris. Chris talked about it as a real partner,
but
Tilly
not
didn't.
No, and oh God, Rebecca, seriously, we just never heard any of that, and I don't know that Tilly ever saw taking Chris to the end as part of her plan. So I think you assuming that Tilly will sell Chris to the jury is a big assumption. Especially with how she went out. So I don't see any way that, forgetting about immunity wins. I don't see any way that in the next two votes, Mac and Tyrone don't go and we don't end up with the final three of Chris, Oscar and Beck. And I'd love to see what Oscar's going to say at a final tribal council where I don't know that maybe he doesn't get any questions. Maybe the jury just kind of goes, good work, buddy. And directs questions at Chris and Beck. I don't know. I'm keen to see how it plays out.
No, I think people will be nasty in that scenario because they've probably already made up their mind. I think in a Tyrone Chris scenario, they'll be asking more poignant questions because they'll be trying to figure out who should win between the two of them, and they'll be uncertain.
I don't think Tim's going to be bitchy or mean. I don't think Joe is going to be bitchy or mean at all. I don't think Shane is going to be bitchy or mean.
Mac will be. Isabel will be.
Yeah, maybe that's two. I don't think there's going to be a lot of bitter jurors. I think it'll be very nicey.
it's less bitter and it's more orca behavior on the jury because like you're still trying to be relevant. So if you get all up and like make yourself a big thing and give someone a little bit of spice, it makes you more relevant. You might even get a Brommy from it. People have got that in the past. So like, you know, and now
So
people are doing
the
things to Brommy.
extroverts might be bitchy. What a shock. The
Yeah.
extroverts might be type A and bitchy on the jury. Wow.
Yeah. We really don't need to self-aggrandize themselves, really, is the only real reason. Well, thank you, Loz, for a fantastic episode, diving into the penultimate episode and our significant prognostication of coverage of what will be happening on the finale this Wednesday night. It's a big Wednesday night. You've got the finale of season 2 of Sydney Survivor, and we're welcoming a new member to the Congress of the Orcas. What a night on Wednesday evening. And of course, as I said at the start of the show, if you happen to be in Melbourne on the 1st of August, come along to the Orca drinks. Loz will be there. Tyrone, let's get you there. Let's finally have the clearing of the air in terms of what occurred in this org 3 years ago when you dragged her to hell. Let's get you both there in the room. Loz
Not
is
ready to
traveling
bury
for
it.
this.
I want to
She's
carry this
traveling
chip
for
on my
this.
shoulder.
Danny's traveling for this. Surely, Tyrone, you can travel from wherever you live in Melbourne to also be present for this occasion. It will be a fantastic occasion. He's going. It's going to be a wonderful reunion of Tyrone and Loz. I'm excited for that. And we're handing out Bromolo medals to any Bromolo medalists in attendance that are yet to receive their medals, including you and me. Just like that Obama meme where he puts the medal on himself. I'll just do that.
I'll put it on
Thank you. Thank you very much. I look forward to that. We can just do it to each other, like like a champagne thing, you know. And Danny, we can somehow do it in 3 ways somehow with everyone doing this.
Wow, this is starting to get kinky already.
That is what the Orcas are about. So thank you to Loz. Thank you to everyone that was here live in the comments. Thank you to Shane for being such a fantastic member of this season and being on our interview. Thank you to everyone who listens after the fact. We know you exist. We just love you a little bit less than the people that are here live because live are special and we love the comments. Tune in next Monday as we cover the finale. And until then, we will dance. I like the thing. I'm sorry. Here we go.
Dance?
You dance with the cat?
Oh, I was offering, but she doesn't.